Part 1, the first door. This part follows a single droplet as it separates from the eternal sea, becomes a human child, discovers the beauty and sorrow of life, and enters the world of dreams with awareness. The story is gentle enough for children, but it carries deeper meanings for older readers: unity, impermanence, fear, thought, perception, and compassion. Illustrations are placed throughout the manuscript, so the book can be read as a visual story, not only as text. Before names, before footsteps, before anyone said I or you, there was the sea. It was not only water, it was depth, silence, movement, and mystery. Above it, stars leaned close like curious lamps. Beneath it, blue forests swayed, small shells slept in the sand, and soft lights moved through the dark like little thoughts. The sea had no beginning that anyone could point to. It held everything quietly. It did not hurry. It did not ask to become anything. Yet deep inside it, a tiny shimmer began to gather, as if the sea had smiled in one small place. A little brightness trembled among the bubbles. First came two shining eyes, then a tiny mouth, then two pink cheeks, then the round, clear body of a droplet glowing blue with stars inside. The sea had made a child of water. The droplet blinked, looked around, and laughed without knowing why. It was still the sea, yet it felt itself as one small drop. And that was the first wonder. The droplet floated above bright stones and waving plants. Everything was new. Every bubble looked like a small world. Every shell looked like a secret door. Then a little blue fish swam near. The fish tilted its head. The droplet tilted its head too. The fish circled the droplet, and the droplet circled the fish. Neither one spoke, but both seemed to understand the same simple question: what are you? The droplet looked closely at the fins, the tail, the little mouth opening and closing. A happy tremble passed through its body. It did not want to catch the fish. It wanted to know the fish from inside. So the droplet softened, stretched, and changed. A tail appeared. Fins opened like tiny fans. In a sparkle of blue light, the droplet became a little fish, too. The two fish swam around coral towers and through curtains of bubbles. The droplet fish laughed in silence. It had discovered something wonderful: to understand a form, it could become that form for a moment. After playing with the fish, the droplet returned to its round, shining body and moved forward. Soon it met a little crab walking sideways across the sand. The crab raised one claw. The droplet raised one watery hand. The crab tapped the ground, and the droplet tried to tap too, but its soft body only made a funny splash. The crab seemed to smile. Again, the droplet changed. Its soft sides became a round shell. Tiny legs appeared. Two bright claws lifted in surprise. Now it could walk sideways, step by step, with a crab beside it. Later, it met a jellyfish glowing purple in the blue dark. The droplet became a jellyfish and floated like a lantern. Later still, it met a golden seahorse and curled its tail into a spiral. Each life was different. Each one had its own way of moving, its own little song. The droplet began to feel that the sea was not one shape. The sea could be fin, claw, bell, tail, and light. The sea could wear many faces, and each face was alive. The farther the droplet traveled, the brighter the world above became. Light poured down from the surface and broke into silver ribbons. The droplet followed those ribbons upward. At the top of the sea, it saw a face looking down. A little boy knelt near the water, his eyes wide, his hair messy from the wind. The boy was smiling at his own reflection, but the droplet did not know that. To the droplet, the child looked like another mysterious creature of the sea. The droplet rose out of the water. It hovered in the air, shining and dripping. The child gasped. For a moment, neither moved. Then the droplet changed again. It softened its round body, grew small arms and legs, and became a tiny glowing child of water. The real child reached out. The water child reached out too. Their fingers touched, and a spark of warmth passed between them. Then a voice called from far away, "Honey, come here." The child looked back. He waved goodbye and ran toward his mother. The droplet stayed on the shore, alone again, watching the child disappear into the forest. Something inside it wanted to follow. The droplet left the shore and rose into the sky. It passed over villages, streets, fields, and roofs. It saw animals walking, people talking, cars moving, and birds cutting the air with their wings. In the city, it noticed two women standing together. One had a flat belly. The other had a round belly, full and gentle like a moon. The droplet circled them with quiet curiosity. Why were they different? What was hidden inside that roundness? Drawn by wonder, the droplet slipped into the warm darkness of the mother. There, curled safely within her, was a tiny body. The body was alive, but something was waiting in it like a house before the lamp is lit. The droplet moved close. The tiny body opened without speaking. The droplet entered, and the two became one. The water that had wandered the sea became a soul inside a child. Everything went dark. Then, after a silence, two eyes opened. Light entered. The first faces the new child saw were his mother and father, bending over him with tears and smiles. The droplet had become a human life. Months passed, though the child did not count them. He learned warmth before words. He learned arms before names. He learned that crying could bring a face close, and smiling could make the whole room shine. One morning, when he was still small and unsteady, his parents carried him to a green field. A clear stream ran beside the grass. Trees lifted their leaves into the sun. Flowers opened their colors near his feet. The child stood, wobbled, and laughed. A butterfly fluttered before him, orange and gold. He reached for it with both hands. The butterfly rose, and the child took one tiny step, then another. He did not know the words river, mountain, sky, or cloud, but he knew wonder. He knew the feeling of grass under his feet and sunlight on his face. He knew that everything moved, and that he wanted to follow it. The world was no longer something far away. It touched him, called him, and invited him to walk. Years turned like pages, and the child became 5. His eyes were still wide, but now he carried questions. His hands were still small, but now he pointed at everything. One day his mother and father took him to the city. Towers rose like painted mountains. Bridges curved over shining water. Shops glowed with colors. People hurried past, each carrying a private world inside their face. The child walked between his parents, holding both of their hands. He looked up so much that his father laughed and told him not to trip over his own feet. "Why are the buildings so tall?" the child asked. "Why do people walk so fast? Where are all of them going?" His mother smiled. "Maybe they are all searching for something," she said. The child looked at the crowd and wondered if every person had a little sea inside them too. After the city streets, the family entered a building filled with tomorrow. Inside were robots with blinking eyes, drones that hummed like insects, glowing screens, tiny cars that drove themselves, and glasses that opened whole worlds when placed on the face. The child laughed and ran from one display to another. A little robot bowed to him. A drone lifted into the air and followed his finger. In a virtual world, he walked on the moon, then stood beside a mountain made of light. People had made these things. Hands had built them. Minds had imagined them first. The child felt a new kind of wonder. Not the wonder of trees and butterflies, but the wonder of human making. If people can make robots, cities, flying machines, and glowing worlds, he thought, what else can thought make? Soon after, the family went to his grandparents' farmhouse. The city disappeared behind them, and the road opened into fields, fences, trees, and warm dust. The farm was full of small lives. Chicks followed their mother in a yellow line. Puppies tumbled over each other near the barn. A calf blinked with long lashes. A baby goat jumped as if the ground were a drum. But the child loved one little lamb most of all. The lamb was soft and white, with ears like folded leaves. Every morning the child ran to see it, and every morning the lamb came bouncing toward him. They played in the grass. The child touched the lamb's wool and laughed. The lamb pressed its head against his hand. In those days, the farm felt like a place where nothing could break. The child did not yet know that love becomes deeper when it meets pain. One golden evening, the child ran outside to find the lamb. He expected the usual bounce, the usual soft head pushing into his palm. Instead, he found the lamb lying near the path. The lamb's front leg was hurt. A little blood marked the wool. Its eyes were wet and frightened. The child stopped as if the whole world had stopped with him. "Father," he called. Something happened to her. His father came quickly with a small box of clean cloth and medicine. He knelt beside the lamb, gentle but serious. The child knelt too. He wanted to touch the lamb, but his hand trembled. "Why is she hurting?" he whispered. His father wrapped the little leg. The lamb made a soft sound. The child felt that sound inside his own chest. It was the first time he understood that another being's pain could become his pain too. The next day, a veterinarian came to the farm. The man carried a small case and wore a stethoscope around his neck. The child followed his father into the barn and saw the young calf lying quietly on the straw. The calf was not bleeding. Nothing seemed broken, yet its eyes were tired and a tear shone on its face. The child felt confused. How could something suffer when the hurt was hidden inside? The veterinarian listened to the calf's chest and gave it medicine. The calf shivered when the needle touched its skin. The child pressed his hands together and wished he could explain to the calf that the pain was meant to help. His father put a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes bodies become weak," he said softly. "Sometimes they need help to return to balance." The child looked at the calf, then at his own hands. He wondered how many pains in the world were hidden, quiet, and unseen. The farm dog had been there longer than the child could remember. Its fur was brown and gray, its steps slow, its eyes gentle. Grandfather said the dog had guarded the house through many winters. One evening, Grandfather called the child outside. The dog lay near its little wooden house, breathing softly. The sunset made everything orange and still. The child sat beside the dog and stroked its head. The dog opened one eye as if to say, "I know you are here." Grandfather rested his rough hand on the dog's back. "Is he sick?" the child asked. "He is very old," Grandfather said. "His body is tired now." The next morning, the dog did not wake. They buried him under a tree and placed flowers near the small wooden marker. The child cried quietly. Grandfather told him that lives rise, grow, become old, and return to the earth. The child heard the words, but his heart was still asking why. A few days later, the family went into town to buy food and things for the farm. Rain had fallen earlier, and the street shone with yellow lights. Near an old wall, the child saw a little girl about his age. Her clothes were torn and wet. Her hair clung to her face. She held a small metal bowl in both hands, but she did not shake it or call out. She only looked at the passing people with tired eyes. The child stopped. The girl looked back at him. For a moment, they were only two children looking at each other. "Where is her mother?" he whispered. His father did not answer quickly. He bought warm bread and fruit and placed them gently beside the girl's bowl. The father spoke to the girl in a soft voice and asked if someone nearby was caring for her. The child wanted to give her his home, his bed, his mother, his father, his whole warm world. But he was small and the world was large. That helplessness stayed with him long after they left. That night, when they returned to the farmhouse, the child ran inside before anyone could stop him. His mother was sitting in a chair near the lamp. He climbed onto her lap, buried his face in her sweater, and cried. "Mommy," he said, "the lamb was hurt. The calf was sick. The old dog died. And there was a little girl in the street. She had no clean clothes, no home, maybe no parents. She looked so sad." His mother held him tightly. She did not rush to answer. Some questions are too big for quick words. Why are there suffering things in the world? He asked. Why do they have to be here? His tears wet her sleeve. She stroked his hair and listened. In that moment, the child did not need a perfect answer. He needed a place where his pain could rest without being pushed away. His mother became that place. The next day, the child sat with his father under a tree. The air smelled of grass and warm wood. The question had not left him. Father, why does pain exist? Why did the lamb get hurt? Why did the calf get sick? Why did the dog die? Why was the girl alone? His father looked across the field before speaking. My son, the world has joy and sorrow together. Not because anyone always deserves sorrow. Often, it is just how nature moves. A lamb can fall while playing. A body can become sick from things around it. An old dog can reach the end of its time. People can lose each other through sickness, accident, or misfortune. The child frowned. So it is nobody's fault. Sometimes there is fault, his father said, but many times there is only life happening. What matters is this: when we can help, we help. When we cannot fix everything, we still keep our hearts soft. We must also live carefully, learn, work, and care for each other, so we do not create more suffering than life already has. The child listened. The answer did not remove the pain, but it gave the pain a direction. That night, the child sat by the window. The room behind him was warm, but the sky outside was endless and cold with stars. He rested his chin on his knees and looked upward. Somewhere above him, the stars shone as if they knew something he did not. Somewhere below him, animals slept in the barn. Somewhere in the city, the little girl might still be holding her bowl. Why was I born? He wondered. Why this body? Why this family? Why happiness? Why pain? Why dreams? Why nightmares? He did not say these questions aloud. They rose inside him one by one like bubbles from a deep sea. That night the child lay down in his bed, but sleep did not come. His body was tired, yet his mind was awake. Questions moved through him like tiny birds trapped inside a room. Why is there pain? Why do animals suffer? Why do people become lonely? Why does death come? He looked up at the ceiling, listening to the quiet house. Moonlight entered through the window and rested softly on the floor. His toys, books, and little drawings looked half real and half dream. Then he heard something. Tap, tap, tap. Small footsteps ran across the room. The child held his breath. Again, the sound came. Tap, tap, tap. He slowly sat up in bed and looked around. At first, he saw only shadows. Then, near his toy box, something moved. A little creature was sitting there. It was almost the size of him, but it did not look like any child he knew. Its body was dark, like a shape made from night. The moonlight touched it, but did not show its skin, clothes, or face clearly. Only its small body, strange head, and two glowing red eyes could be seen. The creature was searching inside his toy box, moving toys aside as if it had lost something important. The child's voice trembled. "Who are you?" he said. The creature froze. Slowly, it turned its head. Its red eyes looked directly at him. For one silent moment, neither of them moved. Then the creature looked surprised, as if it had expected the child to be asleep. The child's heart jumped. Suddenly, everything broke apart. He opened his eyes. He was back in his bed. The room was quiet. The toy box was still. Moonlight still lay on the floor. He sat up quickly and looked around. There was no creature, no footsteps, no red eyes. But the fear was still inside him, fresh and real. He touched his blanket. He looked at his hands. He looked at the toy box again. "Was I dreaming?" he whispered. "Or did something really come into my room?" The room gave no answer. Only the moonlight remained, calm and silent, as if it knew a secret the child did not yet understand. In the morning,